for joining us this evening for Power Fridays Live. I am super excited. I'm your host, Janelle Pulley, and my co host is here, Dave Garesso. How are you tonight, Dave?
Doing fantastic. Ready for
Great.
another awesome conversation.
Awesome. We are so excited and super excited to have in the building or on this podcast Wayne Brown, also known as Coach Light. Live your true expressions. He actually has an acronym for his middle name. And Coach Light is the founder and a resilience strategist of Avoid Being Average Designs, Coaching, and Consulting. It's a global brand and it transforms the impossible challenges of its clients and environment from every angle into possible solutions, collaborations, and solutions. So, welcome, Coach Light. How are you this evening?
I am blessed. I am blessed.
Well, thank you so much for joining us this evening. We know you could be anywhere in the world. We are so super excited to have you here with us this evening. And Dave and I have a few questions for you, but just to kick it off, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and where you grew up and where you're calling in from?
Oh, I'm actually, calling in from my hometown, New York City, particularly born uptown and like Harlem in the Bronx. And I've traveled a lot. I've lived a lot of different places, from California to you guys in Atlanta, Connecticut. You know, I've traveled a lot of South America, Central America. Um, I've had a full fun life. I like to say I live my ABCs, my art, my business, and community connections. I think that's what sums me up. And I'm just honored to be here with you guys, and thank you for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. And thank you for being here and being present. And you have an actual interesting bio. It is just so impactful. And so when I saw that, and I met you in when you were coaching, and so you're also a creative consultant. I know that you do artwork. That's a gorgeous picture behind us. I look forward to finding out a little bit more about that. And you're also a pastoral psychotherapist. And can you share a little bit about that? I've never heard of a pastoral psychotherapist before.
Uh, the Lord works with me. That's all I gotta say. Um, you know, as we get to know each other a little bit more, and hello to everyone that's listening in as well too. Right, God works in purposeful ways. I don't like to say mysterious. He works in purposeful ways, and a pastoral psychotherapist actually who we are is we are the left hand and the right hand, right? Of you know Bible and psychology and making it make sense together, right? Because it's taking the part of the holistic approach to who we are as human beings in this spirit, right? So we have a physical experience, but right, we have a spiritual experience while we're existing too. So I hope that really sums it up in like 30 seconds. I'll share a little bit more about it, right? And how I've had fun along the way. Like you see the hat, it says ABA, right? Abba, like Abba design, God, Father's design. Um, you know, God's brand. I just happen to have to live into it. So
Well, that's super exciting. And Dave, do you have any questions for Coach Light this evening?
Yes, and I want to tell you, Wayne, don't hold back.
um,
Don't hold back. Abba Father is with us. Right? We are not going to be shy about that. So,
oh,
but go ahead. What are you going
no,
to
no,
say?
I'm with you. Look, if everyone listening, I'm a dad too, right? Abba, father, like dad. So it's a balance. It's a juggle. So this walk of being all of it, right? All of these assignments, these titles, like quote unquote titles and roles that we live in, to right. It has a weight on us sometimes. It makes us stronger, and then sometimes it kind of tires us out. But it's all about how we speak about it, how we reflect upon it, and how we own it all. So I won't hold back, but like I said, you know, I'm I'm here to have fun with you guys, and this is all in the Lord's hand. I'm honored to be a guest.
Yep. And I was going to say, like, I sense that you got a lot of power to bring. So that's why I'm saying I'm just priming you. So the first question I got for you, right, is what does it mean to live your true expression? Because that's something that you are definitely passionate about. So tell us more about what it means to live your true expression.
You know, to live my true expression, right? I'm laughing because we was prepping before this call, and that painting just fell, right? Like it just fell off the wall. So, and Janelle acknowledged it, and really, it's a symbol for right living my true expression, and what is my fulfilled life looks like from a worldly acknowledgement, and it's a Nobel Peace Prize, right? So literally, you see it says right Nobel Peace Prize.
Mhm.
So this is what it looks like to in real life manifestation. You can put it up to see what it looks like. This is what it looks like, a boy being average, but from a real life perspective. And what happens is, um, we live and we operate in a world of likes, right, and highlights and what's trending and what's fatting, and then sometimes what's trending and what's fatting isn't what's necessarily right from a right now. I'm going here for a reason because we said we already laid this foundation from a spiritual Christian space, right? From a right wrong morality space. That may not be what it looked like. Now, for a disclaimer, I make a lot of mistakes. I always have to put this out there. I'm not perfect, so you know, I'm not holier than thou, but I'm someone who acknowledges and is authentic and admits when I'm on point and when I'm off. And it's about like congruency. It's about what you have in your life holding you accountable. So that's really what this walk for my life has been about. As an artist, right, as a business owner, as a community leader, you know, and that's why I said I'm honored to be here to be able to share and celebrate this from this aspect because when you asked about like, oh, pastoral psychotherapist, right? The call is really I'm really the voice. I'm really the hip hop's voice of mental health and wellness, right? That's really ultimately who I am. You know, right? From I like to summarize from Harlem jail to Yale Incorporated graffiti. That's who I am, right? And some of my bio, you heard certain things because my entrepreneurial journey comes from right, not me in jail, but my parents. Right, my mother was incarcerated 33 years out of my 43 years of life. Now,
Yeah.
whoa, right? That's something else. So that's one of those things like let's think about it. We know statistics, particularly the statistics always go to the men that are incarcerated, right? But 3 million young people, kids, go to sleep every night with one or two parents incarcerated. So now just let's look at that. If two
Wow.
thirds of that population are men, but watch this, every human being comes from a portal, a vessel, a womb called mother. So how many sons, how many daughters are living right in captivity? Whoa, like a suspended animation, right? But let see. So you see the words on the wall. It's because for me, I believe, and what has been gifted to me is right. The power's in the word. We get to speak life or we get to speak death. Now, for me, you know, God happened to just um you know, take me along a path of being off the wall, not Michael Jackson off the wall, but like Michael Jackson off the wall, writing off the wall. So for me, um, this is my truth, and living, your true expression is part of my path of rejection to be accepted for myself in the mirror, but also me really accepting, God's call and guidance on me fully.
It's amazing, right? So much of your passion and the things that have came from pain and trauma and difficult situations, and it's sort of it's a common thing that I hear, right? That people derive so much good because God has a way of turning something that's ugly into something beautiful, and you're a beautiful example of that. So I appreciate you sharing that, man. Um, what is it though that beyond that empowers and drives you every day to keep going? Because one thing I'll put this out there too for those watching and listening: coach, creative consultant, like Janelle said, pastoral psychotherapist, mental health first aid instructor, airbrush artist, skate coach. You are a man of many talents. So where does that come from, and what is it that ultimately drove all this and keeps you going forward?
Listen, it stays in that trinity of art, business, and community, right? You know, um, that triangular reference. If you really want to hit a target, yes, you look at a circle, but that's completion. But if you, I wanted to be an Air Force pilot, right? And let's just say, um, certain people, my mama wasn't trying to hear that at the time, right? People weren't trying to hear that. I was like 17 to graduate from college. I mean, excuse me, from high school, and my mom had just gotten out of jail, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to try to live with somebody that I don't know for the first time in my life, and
I never
the
thought
name,
of it that way.
and my story gets a little bit real and deeper in that, and it's also connected to what David asked, like my deeper why is because I didn't have my fullest self-expression of my life. And this is what a lot of parents do. And I'm not like this. When anyone that's listening, this is not to fault, blame, or shame, right? This is from a space of I'm inviting everyone to listen and consider that, just consider it like a buffet. All right. Excuse me if you hear some clicking in the background. That's my son's hermit crabs or his bearded dragon or his leopard gecko. So you see, it's Jurassic Park in here. So
Okay, you got me cracking up, man.
right, we're gonna have fun with this conversation because I'm gonna get really deep with something right now. And for me, in that area, like both of my parents, were, by today's definition, right, transgender, right. So my dad was a drag queen, right, identified, right, and my mom, identifies masculine. Now, not the easiest thing, not something I was cool about, right? I didn't have my voice openly about it to be able to speak about that in the world publicly, right? I developed some awesome hand skills along the way, right? You know, to protect myself, right? But then watch also a lot of times it was protecting other people who were dealing with other things in the world that they were being misfitted, shunned, outcast, or right, demised or deemed like you don't fit in. I just happen to always be kind of cool. Now, God's covering. Isn't that something interesting? Right. So, so I speak about this because it's like you ever you ever got smacked in the back of the neck by like grandma, you know, your grandpa, somebody older, elder, when you get ready to say something you didn't. I'm not condoning somebody, hitting their kids or anything like that. Or you felt like something just jerked you forward, right? Something was a gravitational pull or something was pushing you, right? Because you were too stubborn or too stuck in one place and you needed an outside space to move you. So for me, right, I always ask myself the question, if I'm created in God's image and his power is within me, and he's empowered me to be a creator, why would I create my life to be like this? Why would I choose my parents to do, you know, to be who they are? Right now, a lot of personal development, rites of passage programs, and college degrees, some therapy, coaching. I want everybody to hear all this now. Right? The work of the gym, of the mind, of the spirit. This is what qualifies me also to do it for others, is because I put the work in for myself. Right. So, and when also to know when to silence myself, not to condemn myself, but when to silence myself to be open, right, for contribution. So I just share that. That's what moves me, and it's for all the people that don't have access to their voice. I was a little guy, big. I was a little guy with a big spirit, like Scrappy Doo, but not kind of not Napoleonic, but like Scrappy Doo was puppy power. So
Uh-huh.
yeah,
I
we gotta
love
have
it.
fun, you
That was
guys.
one of my favorites. That was one of my favorites for real.
Mhm.
So I
Mm.
want to go back to a word you said, and I'm going a little off script now, okay? Because you said the word and it changed my mind. Now, where I want to go with this, you said rejection.
Yes.
And so, certainly, after what you've been through, rejection has been a big part of your journey and dealing with the aftermath of feeling this concept of rejection. Tell us about the struggle that you've had with that, and really how you were able to move through that, because it's ironic, right? Because God's taken me on a journey right now through dealing with this issue of rejection myself. So when you said that, something clicked. So I want to hear your perspective on that.
All right. So, right, to keep a framework in this, I'm going to answer it probably three different ways, and it's going to come from a creative space. It's going to come from a real a practical space for somebody maybe dealing with something career wise or business wise, and then from a community heart family space. So for me, right, the experience of rejection from a creative space is, you know what, someone's not feeling my artwork, right? Because graffiti, right? For me, my thesis in school was using graffiti as a learning tool
Mm.
and using art therapy as a way to make a difference, not just for me, but for others. Now, 20 years ago, it was considered a pseudoscience, right? People would, I was trying to shoot my shot with my career, and it was gone. And and what that did was it showed me something that paralleled with business, right? In business, and shout out to one of my mentees, Alex. He shared with me, a young man, and he shared I have an exercise that I would do with my mentees, which is to go out and get 100 no's, right? And this young man is phenomenal, doing way better than me, right? And I share this for a reason, because in rejection, in connection to the answer of rejection, right? We want to have people who want to celebrate you beyond, right? You. You want people that's going to celebrate you beyond you, and you want people to celebrate you beyond them and their accomplishments, right? So, right, you see, I just shout out my mentee Alex. Guess what? Living your true expression. I get to. That's a victory. That's a plaque on my wall too, right? But it's all his. It's all of his credit. It's all of, right. Everything goes to him. So that part of it, right? So sometimes I don't think we always we don't get that part. School doesn't teach us that part. The church doesn't even teach us that part. Ooh, I went there. I'm sorry. I said I was gonna go someplace. I love everybody, but from someone who wasn't accepted in the church
Mm.
and wasn't accepted in the school, and then also, right, I wasn't trying to fit in the street as well. So remember, you see the answer of rejection in these three primary areas of, right, where we at. And then even watch this, even in my family too, at times I wasn't accepted. So that rejection standpoint. And then, like, so when I shared, I said I would speak in the third area, and that's the community.
Mhm.
So that, yeah, this interesting. You had it coming at you from all angles, right?
Yeah.
You're every area of your life. You're experiencing rejection. So it sounds like to me, just based on our conversation, that this idea of having your true expression now that you're able to express was developed through that, right? Because it sort of forced you to figure out who you were, right? Because you couldn't get that from anywhere else, not easily, right? So you had to go ahead.
I
Go
was going
ahead.
to say, in the short of it, right, it was developed through projections. So my rejection, right, as people projected their own insecurities, right, which then had me like isolated, right, that's where it actually, fueled me to say, look, I'm clear. I know what's what. Like like I mean, really, I always invite people to hang out with some kids, hang out with some toddlers. You really get to see how smart and how brilliant you're really not, right? And
Yeah, I hear you.
That's funny that you should say that because out of the mouth of babes, they tell the truth. No filter.
and I know I'm going here. People like, what, coach? You all about love and you got the peace behind. But have you ever been slapped by a toddler or baby? What?
Yep.
Listen,
Hmm.
thank you, God, for. I think that all our problems I don't condone like these shows now. They got like championship slapping. No, if you ever want somebody, an adult, somebody that's really stubborn to get they stuff together and they can't hear it from talking, just go go have them take a spoon from a baby, you know, right? And this baby, right? The baby look at you like what, you know, and I'm joking when I say that too because right from a sensory standpoint, when kids are reaching out to touch, sometimes they just flaring, just right, just to reach, and that's what I'm talking about. That type of slap, like you, like, wow, where did it come from? So much power in something so little
Mm.
that you
Yes.
you didn't expect, and then it's that humbling factor, right? God knows, God's hand must came through a toddler. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, frankly, he did say, become like little children, right?
Yeah, but we got too many people going out in the world wanting to smack people, so
Yes.
and that's why, right, that's why the conversation sometimes, right, uh, from a spiritual Christian space, right, Jesus met people where they're at.
Mhm.
And Sister Janelle knows, right, when I'm speaking in my optimistic mastermind room, the context of the words are always in an empowering, right, a positive, it's always in that context, in that room, right? But one of the things is when we're actually reaching out to connect to someone, right, kind of Old Testament and New, right? Because to really connect to somebody, they're going through feast of famine in their life,
Mhm.
you know, you can't come smiling and la 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 like, like a Smurf. People not trying to hear that,
Right.
right? They in touch with their inner Gargamel right now.
Yeah.
But then
Right.
watch this. Jokingly, you have to say, okay, what type of spell, right? What type of spell? What type of word? What type of, casting now of love of a bridge will you connect to say, hey, let me invite you into this village to change your language up, to get into the flow and this rhythm of the la 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 la, right?
Yep.
Right?
Hmm.
But that's right, that's the essence of some of this. But we things get lost in translation, get all mixed up, and then fortunately, right, we have people on the wrong path doing drugs, right, taking mushrooms, trying to escape, right, into all these different places. Now you see how, right, it's the context, it's the focus, it's like what are you a receptor of, what are you receiving,
Mhm.
and who is there to guide you along the way, and is someone going to say, listen, I'm about to meet you here and we're going to go here, but that clear part about acknowledging what it is, and then where we're going to go with this, and then we're not going to stay right here.
Hmm. Right. Can't stay.
No.
I wanted to go slightly different direction, right? I think some of this has led you to working with the youth, right?
Yes.
And so I saw a lot in your bio about different things that you do with the youth, and some of it centers around the story that you've shared. So tell us more about what that involves for you.
So remember the song, I believe our children are the future, right?
Mhm.
That's the
Yep.
song. That's
Yeah,
the
and teach
song.
them well and let them lead the
Lead the
way.
way, right? Come on, Janelle, sing it, right? Give them a sense of
Come on,
pride,
Janelle, sing.
I will only say, show them all the beauty they possess inside. I
right?
will only mouth the words. I'll leave it, to the person who wrote that is, like amazing, the greatest love of all.
Hmm.
Like
Thank
Dolly
you.
Parton wrote those lyrics and Whitney Houston was able to sing them.
See, see, don't know. I don't know everything. I knew some of the words, got the message, right? And the seed that was needed to be planted has grown, right? It's developed and it's matured. But now, unfortunately, what's happened with a lot of people, because we all were once a little person, right? We all grow, but do we all develop and do we all mature? And that's parallel to like business, right? And that's also parallel to our communities. And we see this as a repetitive conversation. Why? It's like, listen, okay, when a baby is born, after 23 months, we're going to now call that 23-month-old a what? A 2-year-old. Now they're living in a new context, not in months, right? Just like if we rewound before that baby came into the world, they were identified for their life existence in what? In weeks. So, you know, So it's like there's an evolution of how we're categorized and how we identify in this process.
Mhm.
Now, somebody might say, "Oh, he's just making all it up." Maybe that's just my artistic creative side. But I give all of that acknowledgement to the creator for giving that to me, because you know why? When I was a kid, because I had so much trauma, I had so many conversations of adults who weren't equipped, right? Didn't grow, they didn't develop, or were not mature enough to handle the conversations, and they weren't able to reach out to me, to connect to me, to actually fully have me excel in my fullest potential. But those who were there, right, grace of God, thank you, right, that I was covered and was equipped with the tools that allowed me to be here.
Yeah. And
So,
I'm grateful for that too, man.
these kids today, the simple, right, for me, it's a everyday ordinary conversation that I always tell people, I wish there was a happy ever after in this, right? And this is just authentic, real talk. I said pop quiz. You know, I right, I love it, right? But I always say these are conversations I really want to have with all the people in the hip hop community, right? It's like, look, coping and masking, and trying to fit into a space that doesn't even right accept you for who you are and for who you're not, is what has people lost, right? In the source and the flavor of guess what? Of ingredients of an industry that people don't even know, they don't know the recipe, right? And I know I just spoke metaphorically, and I do that intentionally so that sometimes, right, words create pictures and then people remember those type of things, right? So it's like, okay, we have recipes for success, but then in the world of what our youth are following, right? It's what's trending, what's fatting, what's innovative, what's rebellious. What's trending, what's fatting, was innovative, was rebellious, right? And what's expressive ultimately is what it's saying, right? What is expressive? And now it's for us to be in tune to keep, right, us a seasoned folk, right? You see, I brought the flavor back, right? A seasoned folk. We older now, right? it's it's for up to us to be in touch with our inner child and embrace, right, young people for being current and relevant to what's new, for us to say, hey, look, you know let me give you some reference, some history to what was, you know to see, and you see, you see the correlation, or see how these things, right, relate. Young people don't always get it. They don't, because they got now, right, that they focus on they now.
That's right.
But we have to show them that future is possible, right,
Yes.
and future looks good.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, go ahead, Janelle.
Yeah, we don't want them stuck in the past.
No.
And so this is a good segue. You made a comment, or something I read said that ultimately you believe that words create a person's reality, right?
Yeah.
And so you kind of alluded to that in what you just said, but and also stating that future is good, right? A lot of that can be defined by the words that you use and the way that you speak to the youth, and the way that you lead the youth to speak about themselves and their own lives. So tell us more about this idea that words create reality.
Well, it's interesting that when she said the word good, and immediately it's like ping. It's like if someone's looking, they said his eyes went up or something, like a pinball machine, because you heard the sigh, good and bad, good kid, bad kid, good David, good Janelle, bad Janelle, bad David, good bad Coach Light. What does that actually mean? What does that actually mean? Right? What does that actually mean in a world of confusion? And that's what I ask people to really look at, right? Because I know, and I don't justify, right? I don't justify ill intentions. I don't justify people doing things or making choices, right, that aren't morally sound, right? But when you really have a conversation and ask what's really working in your life and what's not working in your life in connection to their good and their bad choices, right? An interesting conversation gets shaped,
Mhm.
right? Because there's a difference between, looking at things from a moral sense, right, and from an integral sense. But the elevation of respect is integrity. Why, again, going back to why we have, systems, right? International systems of incarceration is because people maybe had good motives, but they made bad choices. They had good intentions, but they made right
Bad choices.
bad choices or wrong choices.
Hmm.
Right. So then I could feel Dave like, well, my follow up question, right? Like, oh, I have judgment, but I monitor my prejudice.
Hmm.
See, I think when we talk about being honest, I think that a lot of us we try to stand in this space like we are holier than our own, you know, facade,
Hmm.
you know, and and which is a challenge, right? When you stand for something,
Mhm.
right? This is why I think from a acronym, another word, right, for prayer. I say act, right? You acknowledge, confess, you thank, and then you surrender again. You know,
Hmm.
right? You acknowledge your shortcomings,
Hmm.
right? You acknowledge, oh, excuse me, you acknowledge everything that's there. You confess your shortcomings. You know, I love, uh, I love when I would sometimes sit in Bible studies. I've been kicked out of schools, Bible studies, personal development courses, right, for asking questions that made people look at themselves. Come on now, somebody listening, they probably needed to hear that. And maybe I had to work on my diplomacy and how I said it. That's what my grandfather once said. Wow, maybe possibility I was brought there to ask the question to actually move the space forward.
Hmm.
Like, that's why we
It's
ask
true.
questions to open up to move forward in our capacity to grow, to understand. And
Yes.
that's what part of it. That's what I love about being a coach. I love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. There's so much depth to it, the stuff you just said. Like I'm having a hard time keeping up with things that hit my mind as you're talking because there's so much, is a lot there. But one thing that came to mind, somebody recently asked me, what character traits as men are most valuable in today's world? And I think the ones that I chose from a list were wisdom, integrity, and empathy. And the reason I'm saying that is because what I think I just heard you talking about was empathy. Because empathy is the ability to put yourself in another person's shoes. And we're, you're talking about the judgment, you're talking about having the right motives, but making the wrong decision. Sometimes we only look at the decision and we
Yeah.
draw conclusions from that without even considering the motives behind it. And that's really what empathy is all about. So tell me what your thoughts are on that.
I mean, I'm gonna come back from my triangle of sharing. Listen, what happens if you mix white paint and black paint? What you gonna get? What you gonna receive?
Great.
Gray,
Hmm.
right? A new scale. Ooh, a gradient, right? A bridge between this and that. So right, that's one aspect of really looking at that. And then when we look at business, because right, when we had this conversation, I said, oh, we're gonna have business conversations about this. But when we start business, we're all fumbling all over the place, right?
Yeah.
It's that looking good, that process of it, right? That part of, oh, you got rejected. Now, right? I send people rejection to rejection letters. Yes, I reject your rejection.
That's new. That's
I
so
love that.
new.
I
So you
love that.
reject the rejection. So how
Yes.
does that work for you?
Who are you to tell me I'm not worthy?
Uh-huh.
Who are you to right to
Hmm.
now? You can decline an offer,
Hmm.
right? I mean, like, because let's really, you know, I, I wish I could find. I wish I had the letter queued up. Oh, I went there,
Hmm.
right? You know, and and new relationships came from that, right? When we do math, when we're doing math, when we're adding negatives, we get a what? A negative.
Positive. Negative.
Good, right? Right, you get a negative when you add them, but when you multiply them, what do you receive?
Positive.
Positive,
Positive. Positive.
Hmm.
right? So remember, the Lord is in the business of multiplying.
Yes, yes.
Adding's not his business. Now, last time I checked, you know, um, somebody else likes to add chaos to our life, but I don't even speak his name, but he exists, you know, and this is why I share it this way in this manner, because there's simple things that we receive, and unfortunately, the way that we have been taught. Um, I'm sorry, mom, I gotta go here, right? But me and my mom, one of our fundamental differences of perspective and opinion, right? When I came of age, right? I remember sitting at a visit when I was in college, visiting my mom while she was in jail. So right when most people went home for school on the weekends, I was going to visit my mother, in the penitentiary, right? So one of the questions I asked, we were having a conversation, which came first, right? Obedience or discipline? Am- So so I asked, right? I know you guys are interviewing me, but I'm sorry, Coach Habit.
It's
Right,
okay.
right. Which one? Right. Which one for you comes first? Obedience or discipline?
I'd say obedience.
You know.
I I have to say discipline.
All right. So I don't have a coin, but we flipping, right? We're flipping. Now, when when you're given instruction, what is present? Obedience or discipline?
Obedience.
That's the first thing that came to mind.
See? And then, right, to carry out that instruction takes what?
Discipline.
Obedience. Oh, it takes, yeah, makes sense.
You see?
They work together.
Right. But when we're in the survival space of life, it's easy to default to discipline,
Hmm.
right? Because watch this. Some coaches have had discipline beat into them to be what? Come on
Obedient.
now. Obedient.
Obedient.
Mm,
Yeah.
interesting.
So so I chose love over hate. Right when me and my mom had that conversation of that was Cedric gave you the second intro into our conversation later, but it built off of us, me asking her that question because I when I learned that I said no, you got to have obedience first, right? Because you have to be able to hear, you have to be able to receive, to then be able to act out, to then be able to build, right? And I think the conversation went with her around like her stature, her muscles, and everything, her working out, physical side. That's how she was able to kind of hear it. You heard me say kind of hear it at the time, right? Because the discipline, the discipline that we develop sometimes has been in what? Disobedience.
Hmm. Very true.
No, no, no. So what? I'm gonna get disciplined and you can't make me. I'm not
Mm.
going to. I'm not going to. So we're gonna have a conversation like this. And how's the world gonna look? And that's what we're doing. That's what happens.
Wow. Wow.
Woo! Coach Light, you just brought the good things to light. You bring good things to light. Okay,
Yes,
Coach
he
Light.
does.
Oh my gosh, that is amazing. I never really looked. I mean, of course, you're being told no, don't do this, don't do that, but you aren't given opportunity to choice in that moment when you're being told no. The no is there, and then the child says, "But why?"
Because children are automatically a what? Children are automatically right. The choice between yes and no. With are children are automatic what?
Why not?
Yeah.
Well, yes.
Yeah. Automatic. Yes. Yeah.
They're children are
Yeah.
automatic, yes, right? Eyes bright to the world.
Yeah. Hmm.
Now, right, I know someone's gonna say, "Oh, here come coach with that Pollyanna, optimistic side." I'm just saying. Last time I checked, future is connected to optimism. I'm
Hmm.
gonna be, I'm gonna be on and off my church folk. I know you use the word hope, right? Because that's Christian word. Don't you be going here messing with my hope, right? I'm just saying. something to just look at, and a little bit of some reality, right?
Yeah.
Even in the Bible it says, faith without what works is what.
Dead.
Dead.
You can wish and hope all you want,
Yeah.
but
Yes, followed by action.
exactly, and then the concept of coming from fulfillment versus actually having to be a destination,
Mhm. Mhm.
right? When we fulfill with Christ, we fill with God. When we're fulfilled with the confidence that's within, then what? Anything and everything is possible and achievable.
Yes, that's
But not
purpose.
some things, all things.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
that's what it's like to live a life of purpose, right? That's what I love about the subject of purpose.
Oh
So,
man.
one last question before we end. Um, you said when you live your true expression, you're not alone. Although, yes, getting into those yeses, you are the abundant one, or one, an acronym for optimistically navigating excellence. What does this mean?
Neo, not in Matrix, right? You spell Neo a different way, it's still one. But
That's true.
right, you were designed uniquely, right? Mo was broken after you, right? Maybe in some pseudo, something sort of like a replica of. It's only one David. It's only one, Janelle, right? It's only one Coach Light. Now we have an experience together, right? That right now, this is the only time that this is only one experience that's happening at this point in time, right now.
Mhm,
So are we valuing it,
mhm.
right? Are we appreciative? Are we grateful,
Yeah.
right? In that aspect. And even if we are complaining, whoo, it's hot out here. Right? Come on, we all had this working. Right? I told you I'm going here. Right? This sign right here. This sign was created. This piece, right? This piece first started off as one of three pieces. Me trying to right. You heard me say try, and I failed. It was supposed to be three pieces for a client. I don't know what happened to the other two pieces of canvas. This one stayed, and little did I realize it would stay to then teach me to write again. Right? I know Sister Janelle knows I was recovering from a car accident, by September 20th, 2020. Very bad car accident. Shoulder, pretty much God, right? And short of it. But the parts of me, what I cannot do anymore, I can't roller skate anymore. I have two torn meniscus, right? You see me raise my hand this way. I still have a limited range. So I can clap myself here, but this is as far as I have.
Mhm.
Now, for someone who is athletic, someone who is, I pride myself in like being in touch with my inner Bruce Lee or inner Bruce Leroy. What what hurt the most was not being able to write. So for me, I actually broke some of my stitches in my hand one night while everybody was sleeping in the house. I was so frustrated. I walked to the kitchen with a bed. I went into the garage. I grabbed this canvas, right? I put it in the kitchen. I grabbed a Sharpie, right? And I just started to write again, right? Because sometimes in life, like for me, I know what it feels like to have what matters most to me as a portal, as a vessel of like my mom, right? To be taken away from me, to be right incarcerated, right? But then to acquire different tools, right, of expression, of education, right, of self-sufficiency, through entrepreneurship, right? But then the expression component and being able to write. And that shout outs to my grandmother for this, right? Because I didn't master the jump shot because I had to work on my penmanship, and then I turned it into a business, right? So that part of it, right? So it's like transferring every piece of rejection, every piece of pain into some type of purpose. Now, what I do for people professionally is I show them how to do that in connection to what they're up to, right? So that I take the grind and the grunt out of it, so that the gratitude is there, that the freedom to play, the ease, the wonder, the discovery, right? And right, I don't. I'm using this word so people can get it. People say, "Oh, effortlessly," right? I meet people in there effortlessly because what's happening is the effort is transferring into so many other different words that's blocking people. And right, one of God's gifts has given me is being able to extract that like this, like speed of light, with a laser focus to do so. And I do it from an experiential side of I've gone through it myself, right?
Mhm.
As well as right from a theoretical side and from clinical side, from a credential side. And if you notice in my bio, I didn't put where my degrees or any of those things are from. Do I have them? Yes, right. But who I am, the root of this, I'm God's graffiti artist. Make masterpieces and disappear. Right. Each person is a wall, is a canvas. Right. Is that so um, that's why I wanted to share that. And this is what it looks like. This is like rehab, right? This is what rehabilitation looks like for me and part of myself, right? But then do I have my judgmental side of it based upon my comparison of, oh, this isn't one of the mega churches I paid. This isn't one of those ships I painted. This isn't a person I've painted, right? A hospital or t-shirt, you know, right? Something else that I may have done, but it's the imperfection component that makes me perfect that I have to always look at, because you know what? It's the plan that's perfect. Now, my way of getting to it may be a little bit messy. It may be a little off, right? And that's what it takes, a frame to support me, to polish it out.
God's masterpiece.
Yeah, artful words even. It's not just the canvas, it's the words you use. It's drenched in art form. It's pretty amazing.
And funny pieces, right? I put Nobel, right? But I spelled noble at first, right? I was like, oh, I was upset, right?
Yeah.
But here's the funny thing was in the house, everyone's looking at it, and it's like, we thought you did it on purpose. I was like, would somebody I'm going there, right? Your community, I had to go there, right? Somebody asked a question, right? So I had to go fix it, right? Hey, spelling wasn't my thing. Sometimes we pay for those mistakes, and that's why it's important to keep great people around you, right? And owning it, and like don't condemn yourself about your shortcomings. Just connect with people who are strong in the area that you're right, that you're weak, and then watch something monumental happen.
Well, Coach Light, this has been a monumental experience with you this evening. We learned our ABCs tonight: art, business, and community. And you have definitely shown us your artistic way of being, and the whole business aspect of the conversation basically is just amazing. And then rooted in community. So the foundation of being rooted in community. So I do appreciate you for spending this time with us and giving us the ABCs of business, of entrepreneurship. And we do thank you for all of the hard work that you give in the community, being a youth leader. And I did not want to uh, not share. You and Dave have something in common. You both are fathers.
All right.
You both and you homeschool your son, and from what I understand. And before we go, I just would like for you to, share a little bit about how that experience has been for you, and if there's anyone listening who are on the fence possibly about that experience and how that is beneficial for you in your life.
So the first piece of it is you have to believe, right? You have to believe in the vision that you have. You have to believe in yourself, right? You have to, because if you don't believe in yourself, your kid's not going to buy into the belief in themselves of them being able to do it. So that's the first piece that I wanted to share. Um, and everyone is in a pivot space. I've just shared what I'm dealing with in my life, right? So I'm coming from a fully self-expressed life, raising right my son. You know, um, right? I've been blessed to have other right, parental titles, but I only have one biological son, And raising him and homeschooling him has been a journey of us getting to maximize off of the time and the experience that we have, right? So I know what it is to not have so much in life. The key word, to not have, and to be a free range parent to space of say, okay, right, go explore. Kind of like the turtle from Finding Nemo. If anybody's seen Finding Nemo, right? You know, there was Crush the turtle, and he had Squid the son, and then there was Marlin the clownfish, and then there was right Nemo. Now they had two different perspectives on how to approach parenting. Crush was like, go explore, find out, come back, and celebrate it, make it the best, right? Marlon was more of a helicoptering. I'm nervous. I'm scared. You know, always overprotecting, overbearing, right? And it pushed away. Now, what happens is all parents go through this at some shape point in time. But homeschooling is a process of being the seesaw in it, and then extracting, and you get the opportunity to focus on your kid's strength. I've been fortunate enough because of my background working with kids. I have a little look. You hear what I'm saying? I'm very I was very casual. I was gonna say I'm very nice at what I do, right? But I'm great at what I do, working with right um the disadvantaged or the exiled right population. I usually work with the kids that people give up on. Now, all of that time, 25 years of that type of work has prepared me to put in this time with my child. And then sometimes too, right? I'm a human being. I get tired too. But it's about the time invested. So everything that your kid is getting right credit for in school, why not maximize that with them and then see what it does for you? I mean, it's a challenge, right? It is managing, running a business, you know, like several businesses, and full time, you know, raising my son, and right, I'm single parent, sole parent doing it too, right? And right, shout out to all the single moms for for creating that blueprint, right? Shout out to you guys because I extract a lot from that blueprint, right? But the biggest piece is right the exploratory, the accountability standpoint, right, and the partnership.
Well, thank you, Dave. There you are on stage with your family and homeschooling them all the same. And I hope that you found value in what Coach Light just shared. And do you have any final words or questions for Coach Light before we go?
So first of all, I want to say you're a beautiful soul, man. Like, I really enjoyed this. I enjoyed the conversation. But there's one thing I want to give you the final word on this because I think what you said is awesome. Everybody's a blank canvas. Everybody's a canvas, right? So give us the final word on what you want them to know on that in that context.
Love, love is the word, right? And the that Nobel Peace sign back there, acronyms for days, right? Um, right, please educate all children everywhere. Is peace, right? Please educate all children everywhere. And what happens when we educate our children? Now, people are like, oh, educate, educate. Right? What are you educating the child with? What information are you giving the child? And right for those, because I know some people a lot of people listening in, right from a spiritual Christian standpoint. Um, if you're looking at the Book of Proverbs is like looking at both sides of your left hand, right hand, right? You'll get the sweet and you'll get the sour, but then when you put the two together, it's something tangy, right? And it makes an awesome sauce, right? And kids say awesome sauce. I'm saying that for a reason. Um, is use that proverb, use that you know that little piece of that love book and that section, right, to give them a instant, quick, right there in the now moment, right, grasp of what's going on, so that they can see the polarity of what it may look like if it's left, what if it look like if it's on the right. But ultimately, it has nothing to do with being left or right. It's about actually moving forward, ahead, and ascending. And that's what right. That's our design. So, um, it's been a pleasure to be here and an honor. I thank you guys for having me.
Well, thank you, Coach Light, and thank you for being here with us and letting everyone know that they should avoid being average and giving us the ABCs of art, business, and community with your words, with your language, and with your wisdom. So, thanks so much for sharing it with us tonight here on Power Fridays Live. How can we reach you? I know on the ticker tape we have two ways of reaching you. Can you just share with us the best way to reach Coach Light?
Oh man, that receiving part, God always has me working on that part. How do you reach me? Graffiti artist, right? Poof, disappear, right? No, but you can reach me right on Facebook, Wayne Light Brown, Instagram, Wayne Light Brown, Clubhouse, right? Wayne Light Brown, Coach Light, and Google me too. But again, thank you for having me, Sister Janelle. Appreciate it. It's been an honor being here.
Well, thank you so much. And we do thank you for being with us this evening. As we always say, be, do, and have the greatness that you desire because the greatness is in you. And Coach Light has been exemplary of that this evening in sharing with us great tips to understand our youth and the ways of being to see the greatness and love in all of the children. So I will say that, and we'll see you next week for another wonderful Entrepreneur of the Evening episode with Power Fridays Live with Janelle and Dave. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. Have a great weekend. Have a great night. Thanks, Coach Light. Thanks, Dave.
Thank you. You guys have a great night.
Right.